Comic-Con has always been a very exciting weekend. It's kind of one of the weekends that I look forward to. It's more than a weekend, but it's one of the times in the year that I look forward to the most because we get a lot of geeky, nerdy, pop culture news come out of it. And one of the big things that is enticing about Comic-Con is how much studios present new trailers and information and details at Comic-Con. Well, I saw on Twitter today that Marvel is not going to San Diego Comic-Con. Sony Pictures isn't, Netflix isn't. Basically, everyone with exciting news is skipping San Diego Comic-Con, which I find really interesting. I saw that DC is not slated to have skipped it. So DC, James Gunn's going to have the floor. James Gunn is just going to, I think we're going to get some huge announcements from James Gunn at Comic-Con because I think he's going to blow the roof off the place. He kind of has to. There's no one else to do so. I'll start with you, Luke. What do you think of this? Does this bum you out that these studios are dropping out of San Diego Comic-Con? Do you think this is just to do with maybe the writer's strike and they just don't have as much to give? Or do you think this is a trend we're going to start to see and they're going to start moving away from Comic-Con?
It's probably because of the writer's strike, to be honest with you. Like, because they have like a lot of projects lined up, even going through phases 5 and 6. It's like Marvel specifically I'm talking about here.
I can't wait for Sony Pictures Phase 7, personally.
Well, it's mostly because I wanted to see like what else they had up their sleeve, you know, like if they're coming out with new trailers or anything like that before we actually got to their new stuff. Sony, not surprised in the slightest, to be honest with you. I'm not surprised. But with DC still staying in there, though, that's cool.
That's like the one glimmer of hope for me that we'll get some cool news still coming out of Comic-Con. What do you think about this, Zach? What are your thoughts on this?
So growing up, the two big things for the summer was E3, which is video games, and Comic-Con, which is for comic book movies and geeky stuff. And over the last couple of years, especially because of the pandemic, people have been skipping them. This is not the first year the MCU has skipped Comic-Con, unfortunately. In terms of video games, people have completely started skipping E3. And I think that movie studios have been seeing how video game companies have kind of started holding their own events and fans will go to that and they don't need E3. And I think the same thing is happening with Comic-Con. And, Netflix has the dumb thing they do. Still a stupid name, but I get it. And I think that Sony's a part of that because they have a deal with their streaming service. So some of the Sony stuff gets there. So they don't really need Comic-Con to show off their stuff. And then there's been a rumor Kevin Feige is going to have a MCU event where MCU stuff is announced.
They kind of did that with Phase 3 when they were announcing like Civil War and all the way up to Infinity War. I remember they had that big press conference and it was just more. I liked that, honestly. I kind of do want more of that.
Yeah, but I think they're going to do more like, you know how they have that Disney festival thing?
D23. Yeah, that's probably
MCU version of that. Where they show trailers, they have fans come in. It's more income and it's exclusive. They don't have to worry about sharing spaces with other places. And it's just, I think that people, they don't feel like they don't need Comic-Con anymore. They could drop a trailer online, bam, 100,000 of views, million views. Everyone knows the movie's out. We didn't need to do Comic-Con anymore. And I think that's what's happening. People are just like they don't need Netflix anymore and they have their own streaming service. I think they don't need Comic-Con anymore because they're going to have their own event.
That is actually kind of an interesting point too, business-wise, that you kind of brought up. Is Disney is actually in a point right now where they need to start saving pennies. They need to start. They're losing lots of money, and they're even laying off like 7,000 employees by the end of the quarter or something like that. So they're definitely trying to save money, and I imagine it takes a lot of money to set up Comic-Con, bring all these stars, bring all these people to Comic-Con. That's a good point. They could be cutting costs there at Comic-Con to save some pennies.
Yeah, more than likely it saves money, and then also they can make money if they make their own event because people have to pay to get in. Press has to pay to get in to get passes. And it could be a 3-day event. People come, do a bunch of other things. They can advertise, you buy merchandise. It's just a way for them to centralize things, because a lot of times it's like, okay, the MCU show has an hour, but you can't stay too long because then the DC thing has to come, and then the other company has to come. They don't have to worry about none of that stuff anymore. They can go as long as they want. They don't even have to have it in a space. If they want to, they could just have it online. I have just a couple people talk about it, like DC Fandom, which I thought was a great idea.
I like that, actually.
If they moved it to the metaverse, would that get you to join?
No. that would make me go like, okay, I'm plugging out. Sorry, MCU.
Do you think with all of this, we're going to get like a bunch of stuff dropped from James Gunn with DC then? And what are you expecting to get with that?
I think that he needs to take advantage of that time because there's not going to be anything else really. Just like some small. If Netflix is pulling out, there's no Witcher, there's no Stranger Things. Just go in there, show us, cast Superman, cast. Tell us well, we know the director of Batman. Cast Batman. Cast some of these key characters. Give us a clear explanation of what's going on with DC. You maybe not
Give
even
us a
tell
little
us
bit more
all the
like
movies.
about Creature Commandos or something like that. Like,
Yeah, animated. They should be able to have something on that. Like, give us a timeline. What's going on with the Justice League? Don't even give us a Justice League movie, but like, where are they at? Or is Wonder Woman in this Paradise show that you're doing? Like, just give us a timeline so we have no one knows what's going on. Everybody's like, okay, Flash is confusing me. We have Aquaman coming out. Blue Beetle's a DCU character, but not a DCU movie. It's just too confusing. So he needs to take the Comic-Con and just lay it all out and explain it clearly, not on Michael Rosenbaum's podcast, but something that everybody.
Great podcast though. That was a really
great.
good.
I love it. I love the inside of you. Well, that sounds crazy, but but you know what I mean.
I'm touched. Thank you, man.
Whoa. But yeah, I just think that it's time for him to just take advantage of that. Was it Comic-Con is like 3 days? Just take advantage of that. Hopefully, he takes advantage of New York Comic-Con because I'm going and I would love to see some exclusives.
Fair point. What do you think, Luke? What do you think we'll get from DC, and what are you hoping to get from DC?
Well, obviously, like I said, I'm hoping to get a little bit more out of Creature Commandos because obviously I don't know much about those characters, but I want to see like what James Gunn is going to do with those characters, and obviously, maybe obviously, like Zach said, expand a little bit more on like what's going on with the DCU, like you know, because we have stuff like the Flash, we got Blue Beetle coming up, and also like with some of the other announcements we got, like with his big slate that we did earlier this year, expand a little bit more on those so that way we know exactly like what the clear idea is for what he's wanting to do with the DCU.
I think we're gonna get the Superman casting.
Hopefully we do.
I think that's gonna be the big bomb that he drops, and I wouldn't be surprised if we got a little bit more of Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, because he said like that was only like half of Chapter 1 in his announcement video. I wouldn't be surprised if he announced a few more. And I feel like James Mangold's going to come out and give us some more information on his Swamp Thing.
Also the video game stuff. Because remember, video games are tied into the DCU.
Yes.
That. And also talk about how that connects. I think it's a terrible idea, but he has to clarify.
Yeah, man, that could get so like if you think people are like starting to get fatigued with Marvel because they can't keep up with everything on Disney Plus, if you're gonna start telling storylines in video games, man, I don't know.
You're gonna start getting fatigued with DC now.
Yeah, no kidding. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think of all these studios pulling out of San Diego Comic-Con? Does it upset you? Does it worry you? Do you not care at all? Comment down below. Let us know all your thoughts and opinions. And what do you think James Gunn's going to do with DC at Comic-Con? We'd love to hear it all.